So good evening, good afternoon.
Not evening yet.
Not evening yet. So I'm Jean-Carl Bisson. I am a technical evangelist for the Bluemix platform. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about Watson and what Bluemix can do for you as you're hacking along today. And so I saw the previous sessions showing you how to build in Node.js or iOS, Android. And so now that you actually have skills to code, we're going to show you how you can put this code into the cloud and make this a globally accessible application. And so it's very, very simple. All you do is go to bluemix.net and sign up for the Bluemix account, and that's bluemix.net. And then you get access to a whole catalog of services and APIs. So there's over 130 APIs, and that includes Watson, which I'm going to go into more depth on the Watson services. Think of Watson as kind of a human being where you can train Watson to understand your data, whatever data it can be. So images, audio, text messages, you name it. And you take this unstructured content and you start understanding what it means. So when I show you a book with content, what does that mean? So you read and you have some experience with this content.
I want this a little higher so you can get a little bit louder.
All right.
Do you mind holding it?
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll affect you.
Okay. So after Watson starts understanding your data, it can start reasoning about your data. And this is where the AI, artificial intelligence, comes in. And this is machine learning if you're a data kind of person. And so think of Watson as just like you with a brain, understanding data and reasoning and making decisions. And the final part of it is confidence levels. So Watson will return these results with confidence levels to tell you, well, yeah, Watson wasn't really sure that this was the answer, but wanted to still provide you this attribute or result so that you can make a decision saying, well, maybe I don't want such a high confidence in a result. And you may use that as a learning process. And so that's kind of what Watson does, and Watson does it in a number of different services. So if you go down to the catalog under Watson services, you can see all these different things that Watson can do. Some of my favorites are Alchemy API, which does keyword and entity extractions with emotion and sentiment. And so if you're interested in learning about the service, you can click on the tile. Every Watson service in Bluemix has a view docs on the left side. And this is where you get a brief overview of what this service does. But I'm more of a hands-on kind of person. I want to actually play with the services and then read about how it works later on. So we have demos on all these. And where did my, let's see. So Alchemy is composed of three different services. There's language, there's visual recognition, and there's news. So you can click on the Alchemy language demo. And so this takes either a body of text or a URL to content. And you would think, well, what kind of content can I analyze? Well, Alchemy is pretty resilient in what you can provide. Just paste content in, and Watson will start understanding what it is. So let's analyze this piece of content. Let's not really read what this says, but it's talking about alchemy, a year, and Elliot Turner, which seems like a person if you're a human being and you understand how to summarize things. So Alchemy returns all these different pieces of analysis to this content. And so entities are like people, companies, organizations, and whatnot. And you can scroll down to see the different entities that are being extracted out. So you notice Elliot Turner is being categorized as a person with positive sentiment and pretty relevant. So you can then understand, hey, this is probably talking about a person, and Elliot Turner is probably a key player in this content. You can also see the emotions, so anger, disgust, fear, joy, and sadness are emotions. Anyone watch Inside Out? A couple of fans. All right, so you can basically play around with these emotions and see what this content and what these certain entities are and the emotions around it. You can also get keywords. So keywords are important things in text, ranks them by relevancy, and detects the sentiment around it. So we like to give an example of like customer service. So how many of us have called up and said, my cable is broken, I want it fixed, and you don't really get understood, right? What part of this don't you understand? It's negative sentiment, I'm frustrated, I'm angry. Why not be able to analyze this conversation that I'm having with the agent? So you can see, the keywords are kind of what is being talked about. So the entities are things, but like what the API that is being mentioned, you can understand the keywords. Again, you get the fear, the emotions, and sentiment. You can also categorize this content by concepts. So we have a number of different categorization systems out there that we link to, and you can then use those to categorize content. So we've seen, like in photo albums, you can analyze what's in a photo and categorize them pretty quickly. So maybe you have content, like many of you are students, you have essays basically that you want to analyze what's being talked about, and maybe you can categorize and organize your notebook in a different way. So that's kind of a targeted sentiment and emotion analysis, but you can also understand overall in this piece of content what the emotions and sentiment are. And then if you analyze a URL instead, so we're going to randomly pick a URL, you can then extract the title. Took that out. Let's see. Well, it should be displaying a title, the author. Maybe that's not, okay. Too many requests. All right, but so you can analyze title, author, and other pieces, publication dates of news articles. And this is cool if you want to start analyzing content on the news and extracting out the content from a web page. You can just put in a URL to this API, and it will start extracting out the most important pieces of content. So if anyone is interested in news and analyzing news articles, because we're in an election season, there's a lot of news around and about, you can use Alchemy Data News, which we analyze over 250,000 news articles, blog posts, and whatnot every day. And all you do is submit a query. I believe I'm going to hit an API limit on this IP address. But basically, you would search for, let's see. You would search for like IBM as, let's see, is mentioned as a company and as positive sentiment and whatnot. So I want to talk about this drop down of as a person, as a city, as a company, organization. When I say maybe Apple, what do you consider Apple to be? Is it a company? Is it a fruit? Is it some other thing that I haven't heard of Apple being referred to? So as a human being, our experience is what gives us the context of when I say Apple. Apple's stock went up. Yeah, that must be a company. But I ate an apple, it's probably a fruit. So Alchemy will extract out the context around what is being mentioned, and you can specify, well, an apple as a company versus something else. So the API returns the URL, the author, the publication date, entities, and sentiment. And this is all returned into JSON format, where you can consume it as a REST-based API. So all these Watson services are very easy to consume as JSON. How many of you have learned JSON just this morning? This morning? No. Or recently? All right. But okay. So JSON is pretty clean format, and so Watson returns this data in JSON format where you can easily include into your application. So I'm going to go back to the Alchemy language, and this seems like a cool application I want to deploy and modify. So each of these demos has a fork on GitHub, and this is where we let you just take the code and modify it if you're not really comfortable with coding from scratch. And you can just click on the fork on GitHub. And so Watson Developer Cloud on GitHub is where my go-to. Every day I go there and I look at the new projects that are being deployed, different things that are being updated on Watson. So all these services are constantly updated, improved upon, new research is added to. And so every day you can go there to the Watson Developer Cloud and start learning a new service. So down on the README file, there's a deploy to Bluemix button. This is also one of my favorite things about these projects, is the ease of use on deploying it to Bluemix. So all you do is you click on deploy to Bluemix, and this gets into the DevOps. So I'll log in. You can choose your application name, and then you can select the organization and space. And so you click deploy. This is going to go through 4 stages. I'm going to skip ahead and show you one that has already completed. It takes about 3 minutes or so to create a couple of things. The first is it's going to create a clone the repo. And this is kind of your online editor where you can start modifying it without having to download any software, download any command line interfaces. You can just play around with editing the code and deploying it. So click on Edit Code on the top right. And this sets up your own workspace. So this is for you to play around with, edit the code online, and then you can deploy it into a Git repo where your team can then collaborate together. So we provide you this whole DevOps experience of you write code individually, you contribute as a team, and then you can deploy it into a Bluemix application. So everyone has seen an editor. You can edit code. This is going to kind of be a small screen show. But how you interact with Watson is really simple. You take the Watson Developer Cloud NPM package, you download it or NPM install it. You create an Alchemy language object. You pass in the API key. And then you can analyze the content. So anyone that went to the Node.js session earlier, you learned about how Express the Express framework works. So this is just a post and a get endpoint. And so this data comes from the form, gets submitted into this method, and then analyzed. So request body.body is the content you're analyzing. It returns it back to the browser where the JavaScript on the front end can update the UI. So it's about 10 lines of code to use Watson. then it's up to you on what you want to use the results for. So hopefully that kind of gives you an understanding of what Watson, Alchemy, language, and news can do. So there's other services on Bluemix. Watson can translate, so you can translate into multiple different languages. Again, it's very simple. We can go to the View Docs. Where did View Demo. So this will analyze content. So hello, developers. And notice what just happened. The drop down here identified what language that was. So first of all, language translation can identify languages. If we don't translate it, we probably can identify it, and you can then take action upon whatever language you want to interact with your users. So let's choose a language, French. Oh, I don't know if I can actually speak this. I didn't really learn French in high school, but bonjour les développeurs. Okay, never. I got the bonjour, all right? So this is where Watson comes in. I don't really have to learn French. I can just use language translator and include that into my application. And this is what's great about Watson is it will speed up your development. You don't have to write your own custom algorithms and learn all these algorithms and spend that time on that. You can include these Watson APIs into your application and then really focus on what you want to do is build your custom application using these results. So then we have personality insights, which is another one that we like to play around with. So anyone have a Twitter account? Yeah, there's one person. Yeah, I understand not wanting to analyze your Twitter account. So this demo basically takes either tweets or you can analyze content, any body of text. And what's cool about this one is it analyzes the personality behind the person who writes this content. And so if you send me an email, I'll secretly analyze your personality and understand who you are. And then I'll customize my response back to you so I may be more agreeable to you. So let's analyze the 2012 debate by Barack Obama, because no one ever wants to be called out on their Twitter account. And so the first is what we show you a little human readable summary. And so Barack Obama is excitable, analytical, and strict, philosophical, and open to and intrigued by new ideas and love to explore them. So you're welcome to put your Twitter account in here and analyze your tweets on your own time. And you'll see how close it gets, and it's kind of creepy how an algorithm and this research has come about where you can understand people just based on what they write. There's a question.
Can you do Donald Trump?
Do the celebrity match with Donald Trump. I have his Twitter.
You know, I'm going to be so glad when November 8th comes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it's at real Donald Trump.
The real Donald Trump.
No, take the third out. It's real Donald
I bet there's a knockoff there.
Donald.
Donald. Okay.
There you go.
So before I go on, so your celebrity match is another demo that we have that uses personality insights. And what it does is it takes the tweets from whoever you enter the username, and then it compares to celebrities. So we have tons of celebrities that we've put into this demo, and it analyzes the tweets and the personality behind them, And then it compares the different attributes. You know, I never really showed the things, the results.
Show it here.
But, okay, so Kevin Bacon. Oh, that's a nice avatar. Okay, so, well, I'm glad this is going to be my last demo, right? Okay, so Donald Trump is pretty similar to Kevin Bacon. So they're both very curious, organized, outgoing, compassionate, and sensitive. Okay, so that was it, and now let's go. No. Okay, so personality traits is one thing, but as a consumer, what do you need from a product? And this is kind of the real use case of personality insights. As a consumer, what do I need and what do I value in a product? And so as Donald apparently needs ease of use, independence, fulfillment, calm, contentedness, imperfection, restraint, indifference, complacency, risk, flexibility, and whatnot.
Very needy, huh?
So then we compare the six most similar and six most different celebrities from you, and you can actually click on these and see the variations. So because they're different, they're on the extreme sides of the spectrum. So where did let me go back to this demo. So yes, you can analyze the presidential debate, you can analyze politics, you can analyze other things with personality insights. And it all comes down to these percentiles of population. So this person is at the 95th percentile of our sample population. You can also train with your own populations if you want more accurate and specific results to your population if they vary from the regular population. They each have subcategories of traits, and then you can, where's view JSON? You can view the JSON that comes back. So very similar to the other services in Watson, you can analyze the categories and the subcategories of these traits with these scores or confidence levels and use them in your application. Anyone scared of JSON? No? Okay. Question?
Do you have control of what it's going to return? Like, for example, if I don't think the result is accurate, is there any way I can improve the accuracy?
So if you notice the question is, if you notice the results are not completely accurate, can you adjust them? Can you correct them? Some of these Watson services you can completely train from ground zero all the way up. Some of them you can say, yeah, Watson, you didn't really get this one right. And Watson will start learning what the other potential results could be and adjust for it. All right, so part of my job, and this is actually kind of cool, is I get to come out here, build cool things with hackers, and then go back and really put these into a blog and show you how you can build cool things. And so, yes, at IBM, you can just sit there building demos, getting to show it. That's what an evangelist does, is get you excited about using our platform, showing you cool things. So earlier this year, I got tasked by my general manager. We're going to have a conference, Interconnect, in February. We want to analyze tweets and what our audience is. Are they agreeable? Are they having a lot of motion in their tweets? And I want to show it on something I can wear. And so we're using Tone Analyzer. I built out a LED pin, and Angie over here is shining it. Oh, got to turn it around.
It's not an Iron Man. Yeah, okay.
And so the first version basically fed all the tweets around this hashtag of a conference and pulled it into the tone analyzer service, analyzing each of these traits. And I guess I can show you them. That might be easier to visualize. So there's 5 social traits. Let's analyze this. So on the right side, there's 5 traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and emotional range. So every tweet I pipe into Tone Analyzer and get these scores back. The first version, we aggregated these together, and every minute the pin would update with a pie chart. Yes, it's a new 2017 Tone Analyzer pin available on Adafruit and on Bluemix. You can make it yourself. It's a particle photon and a NeoPixel ring, about $50 in hardware with a Wi-Fi chip. You connect that to the Watson IoT platform, where it gets messages from my Bluemix application to update these 24 LED lights. So we took that and we wanted to make it an individual experience. And so at the Twilio conference, you can actually text the pin a message, and it will analyze the tone, the social tones, and display the pie chart. Yes, it's totally geeky, and you can make it yourself, no judgment. And so you want to text a message?
Anybody want to send a message to see?
No, there's no volunteers.
Come on.
There's a volunteer.
All right, the number you want to text to, 424-292-8766.
Okay, there's only going to be one person at a time, or it's going to go crazy.
Oh no, I canceled it. Rapid color number?
Okay, so 424-292-8766. Okay. See the colors changing?
So are you going to be confident enough to actually share with what you text, or?
Hello.
Hello. Okay. So let's see, it's yellow, so a lot of agreeableness, and I actually have a slide here. We can.
So the color is yellow is agreeable, red is extroversion, green is conscientiousness, and blue is emotional.
So for the audience at home, so red is extroverted, blue is emotional range. That was a 50-50. Anyone want to share that message?
What?
I didn't know.
You haven't seen it?
I said I want a shirt.
I want a shirt.
Okay, so see that this time's changed. Mostly blue, right? And then yellow, and a little bit of red. Somebody else just said something. There? Okay. So you got 4 different colors, but the most oops, keep changing. So you see how it could be. So what kind of use cases can you think of? Come on. Okay. Support.
You want to talk into the mic?
Okay. So, use cases. Support, right? When you call and they start saying things and just start getting you more upset. So you can use this to train them. So you can take the recording, use one of the services called speech to text, convert it to text, and then run it through the tone analyzer and train them and show them the conversation flow and show them how the conversation starts going south because some of the words they're using, right? So that's one way. I had people say, maybe I should run it through before I send my email to my boss. I don't want to come across as too negative, right? Or maybe to your parents if you want something. So there's different ways you can actually use this, right? It's a way to say what kind of communication style you want to come across to people, whether it's business, whether it's outside, and then that's one way of using it. And there's a lot of ways you can combine things, like I mentioned. Okay.
So people ask us all the time now that we show this, well, can I buy this? It's actually just Adafruit, a NeoPixel, and a photon particle. You can actually change it to whatever hardware you want. And this is where we try to inspire you to say, well, the first thing is a back-end, is using Watson. It gets the results back. And then design thinking. What do I want to actually make for my user to interact with? Now, this pie chart may not seem to be very interactive, but there could be use cases in other ways. But we want to make it more interactive and show you how easy it is to how to build it.
So how long did it take you to build it?
So it took only about two hours to build the back end. The problem I had was trying to figure out Arduino code on that thing and push it. That took me the rest of the day. And actually also the user interface of what do the colors represent? And yes, you may say, well, why is red extroverted when it should really be like emotional range? So maybe that was an oversight on someone's part. So think when you're building these things, really, is it clear? Is it designed to be user-friendly and whatnot?
So if I heard you correctly, the IBM part's easy.
Yep.
Now think about design thinking though. Design thinking is very important.
Mike, actually,
So design thinking is very important because a lot of times we're all technical people, right? So we typically say, hey, I have a great idea. Let me build it. You know, people are gonna love it. And what happens is after you build it, it's like, okay, who's gonna buy it? How do I sell it? All that stuff. So what you should really think about is when you have a cool idea, first think about who is it that might be interested besides yourself, right? And then find out everything about that person and then see what they need, what they do. Find out as much information about them as possible. And then you can come up with the right functions and features that they would need. So you already have an audience identified. So it's almost asking you to step back and think a little bit about the audience first before you actually spend all the time building something, right? So that's one of the key things. We do a lot with our clients. So it's not just us, but IBM clients, enterprise. We're actually also been doing a lot of workshop with them and just helping them step back and think about what is it that you're trying to do, okay?
so if anyone is interested in deploying the back end part of it, I have a 2-part blog post and tutorial. The first is just showing you how to do the back end, showing a pie chart on a web page. I advise to do that before interacting with hardware because that can actually double or triple your development time using hardware. The cloud part is actually pretty simple in reality. It's the hardware and trying to figure out how this all gets connected and whatnot. So Node-RED is what I used on this. Don't get too scared. It's Node-RED is a graphical interface of nodes that are built on top of Node.js. And so on the left side, you have these nodes that you can drag over into the palette and start doing different things. So in the middle here, you have IBM, which is a Twitter node. It's searching for the Twitter hashtag IBM, passing each of these into the tone analyzer Watson service. And then I do a basic find the highest scoring trait and then passing it into the database where I aggregate them every minute. And then down here, I send a message to the IoT pin. And behind the scenes, it's just 24 characters. R is red, G is green, etc. And the pin very basically cycles through each of these characters in the string and then controls the LED light for that position. So Node-RED is a fun little tool that I love to use. I know as a developer you want to get into the code and write code instead of this drag and drop interface. But this is a time saving where you have this idea, you want to prototype it, and as a hacker at a hackathon, you usually don't have enough time to really polish your code and get something built. So Node-RED is an option that you can use in Bluemix. It's built on Node.js, and when you get more advanced with it, you can actually write your own nodes in JavaScript. And there's a whole community out there at nodered.org that it's an open source community project. And so this can be useful when you're controlling IoT devices. And so that's the github.com/JeanCarl/tone LED pin with dashes, you can access that. So occasionally I have other ideas throughout the year, seasonality. And so last year I decided to connect a pumpkin to the internet, because why not, right? So last year I was analyzing sentiment. This year I'm analyzing emotion around a message. Yet again, it's using Twilio and text messages just as the easiest interface for you to text a message to. And right now it's showing yellow. So I'm going to text a message. Anyone want to volunteer a message? Yep. No, so I have a different phone number, but I can text it.
Oh, is he on my number?
Yep. No, not your number, the message you would text it.
Oh, I would say, hello, my name is Annabelle.
Hello, there's no emotion in there.
Hello, my name is Annabelle, and I love this pumpkin.
Okay, I love this pumpkin. Don't make me type too much. I only have 160 characters. I love you, pumpkin. Okay, which emotion do you think is going to show up before it changes? Okay, so it's blue. So sadness. Oops. Did I?
Pink.
There you go. Okay. So as you can see, it's pink, joy, and so this is it's a yet another simple demo that you may say, are you going to really text a pumpkin on your front step? But it shows the potential of you can connect anything to the Internet of Things, connect it to Bluemix, and utilize it. So I'll jump into the Node-RED. And so basically, the callback from Twilio gets analyzed into the Alchemy feature extract. And so if I double click on the feature extract, I'm pulling out the document emotion. And let's see. So you can see the results come back as, let's see, 0.05 anger, 0.03 disgust, 0.85 fear, 0.005 joy, and whatnot. And again, this is controlled by a particle photon and a NeoPixel, same kind of backend as the tone LED pen, and you can see the different. It's all be it for blue. So. All right, so we have seen a lot of action around Slack and making chat bots and what you can do with that. So our most recent API is conversation. And this is where you can create a kind of a bot that interacts with your user. So instead of having actual live customer agents who have to understand what the customer is saying and then figure out a response that's usually not accurate and satisfying to the client or the customer, you can utilize Watson conversation. And so there's a couple of concepts around a conversation. And this is kind of where the design thinking comes in, and you really want to think about how you interact with your user and the conversation you have. Because you may say, okay, what is the weather? And that's the only command that my user is going to ask of my application. But in reality, what is the weather? What is the temperature? Is it cloudy? Is it sunny? Is it going to be sunny tomorrow? Is the weather good this weekend? You have all these different pieces of kind of what is the weather was too generic. And so we often, on a whiteboard, just start writing down utterances and sayings that we expect the user to say. Now, if you did this as a custom algorithm and you started pattern matching, you would never get all the different variations of the conversation. And so this is a demo where it shows being in a vehicle. And so what can I ask? So you can say, turn on the headlights. And so what Watson has been trained on is turn on something, turn off something. So there's two components. There's on and off, which can be an entity. The headlights can be another entity. You can turn on other things like the air conditioner, the heater, whatnot. And then you have the whole phrase of turn, fill in the blank, and fill in the blank again. So these entities are what you can list and say headlights, air conditioner, whatnot. And Watson will then start understanding what these utterances are, and then you can rephrase it as maybe please turn on the headlights, or add some other words, and Watson will boil it down to being you asked to turn on something or turn off something. And so how do you actually use something like this? We can create a Watson conversation service. So going back to the catalog, I just clicked on that Watson conversation, and I could give it a name, but I chose to use the defaults. You can launch the tool. So workspaces are kind of separate conversation components, or you can have different projects. And so you can create on, let's see, I guess we could do weather. Okay, so this is a tool to start creating a conversation. And there's three parts of it. The intents are kind of phrases that you want to recognize. And so you can click on create. So turn, let's see, control. Wait, did I do a weather? I'm going to do the car just because we have all done a car. So turn on, let's see, turn, any other things that you can control a car with? Phrases? Help? Crowdsource this.
Jump.
What? Stop.
Turn around.
Well, turn on would capture the turn on music. Different phrases.
Eject passenger.
Switch, what was that?
Weather reporter? Switch gears.
Switch something?
Gears.
All right. One more.
Eject.
Eject. Okay, so you want to put at least 5 of these intents on controlling this car. And always remember to click done. So now you can say when you recognize eject or turn off, turn on, it will recognize the intent control car. You can also say what entities you want to control. So features, radio, air conditioner, anyone else? Windshield wiper, is that 2 words? Seat warmer. You must be from the cold area of town. Sunroof. Okay, so you notice on the right side there's synonyms. So you can say, well, radio or music is a kind of the same entity. And so Watson will start understanding more about different ways of phrasing a certain entity. So click on Done. And then dialogue. So this is where you can say, I want to recognize like the control car intent. And then turning on, what was the entity I named? Anyone remember? Feature or features? That's why you always want to features. Okay, so you don't have to create an application for this. You can actually click on the Watson dialog on a box on the right, and once Watson finishes training, you can enter your own phrase, so turn on whatever, and it's going to extract out the feature, and you can then use that in your application to say, okay, they wanted to control the car with this feature. And so hopefully this has kind of shown you, it's going to take a little while to train, but this is a way to enable your application with human phrases. And so we've seen Alexa and voice be more prevalent in our applications and in our products that we use every day. And so we also have Watson text-to-speech and speech-to-text. So you can audio enable your application and then take that text and pass it into Watson Conversation, figure out what they're asking to do, use an IoT platform to connect to a thing like your car, and then actually control it. So using these different Watson services, you can put them together and make a solution. We often get asked, well, does Watson do A, B, C, and D all together? And well, wait, why would you want to do A, B, C, and D when this person just wants to do A, B, or C, and D? And so this is why we have chosen to break out these services into different components so that everyone can figure out, I want A, B, and A, B, C, D, or whatnot, components, and utilize that. So hopefully this has shown Watson services. One other thing to show you, compute options. So this is where you can host your applications in a number of different environments. There's the Cloud Foundry application runtime. So we support Node.js, Python, PHP, and let's see, Swift was somewhere around here. But our newest runtime is Swift, so you can write Swift both on your iOS application and in the cloud. That's pretty cool. If you also want to use Docker containers, we support Docker and IBM containers. And if you really just want the command line access in a VM or a server, you can use virtual servers. But if you don't ever want to actually pay for running instance, you can use OpenWhisk, which is a serverless environment where you can run Node.js, Swift, and actually now they released other languages and Docker. So you can run it in a runtime-less environment. So we have a couple of minutes for questions.
Yeah. Question, and then the survey. Where's the link for the survey?
Any questions?
No question? All right. Hopefully I see something in the 2 hours, right? You guys are coming with some ideas. He actually, we did a workshop at another location, and we have middle school, high school kids group together instead of like half a day, and then in the afternoon they participate in the hackathon that was going on, and they won. So I'm sure you guys can come up with something in 2 hours, right? Okay.
So there's a couple of things over here on this chair with Angie. There's Watson Developer Conference coming up November 9th and 10th. It's going to be over at the Innovation Hangar and all about Watson. You don't have to go very far if you're from the city. We also have index cards with both Watson Developer Cloud URL and Node-RED if Node-RED was fascinating to you and you want to actually play with it. I have written a number of different labs showing you how to use Watson services using Node-RED. You can get up and running quickly, understand how Watson will work, and then you can jump into whatever language of choice you want to choose.
Okay. If you're a student, for the developer conference, if you're a student, the code, write it down. If you're a student, would be D as in dog, E, V, con, C-O-N, S as in Sam, T, U, D, T. So student, S-T-U-D-T, D as in dog, T. So if you're a student, okay, like in schools and stuff. Everybody else, the cards that we have has a code there. It's called Startup 20. That gets you 20%. Okay?
And finally, the feedback form, if you fill it out, come show us. You can get some swag, even more t-shirts, because I know the blue ones from API Connect were awesome. You can actually get these as well. So fill out the feedback form and let us know that you did. And thank you very much.
Yeah, so guys, let's give a thank you, because not only did they do this workshop, but they also co-sponsored this event with us. So they were a significant supporter and have been for a long time. So let's give them a round of applause, okay?